where are you talking to me from right now?
New York City, Manhattan,
Okay.
Chelsea.
You are a native New Yorker.
Yes.
So before we get into talking about the New York that's presented in white, I just wanted to ask about growing up in New York. Do you think that inspired you to be a storyteller and a filmmaker?
Most definitely. I grew up in New York when there were a lot more neighborhoods, when there's still a lot of eccentric characters, but they were just part of your community. And I've always been intrigued by those types of people. So yes, New York is its own world into itself, and it's something that I've always been interested in highlighting and documenting and showing the people that I know and the faces that I know and the characters that I know. Yeah.
And how did that experience inform the New York landscape, do you think, that we see in white?
Well, white's definitely influenced by a New York of the late 70s and early 80s. The tagline is Dog Day Afternoon meets Children of Men. Rest in peace, Sidney Lumet. And it's a really interesting time in cinema, and I just think a really interesting time in New York. Colors and graffiti and something about the summer and just having fun in a simple way. And so that was always something that I wanted to use as a reference for the film, for the color palette and for the visual elements of the film.
Now, white is part of season 2 of Future States.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you want to produce for this series?
I've had this idea for almost a decade. I've made films in between, and when I got the RFP for it, it just seemed like a perfect fit. And I knew the series, and I really respect ITVS, and it just felt like a really nice match. So when I presented the idea, didn't think about it, and then got a phone call later, and it was a nice transition from just having a baby into making another baby. So yeah, it just seemed like ITVS could really wait. Hold on. New York, right? I felt like ITVS and Future States. I thought they could really honor the story, but also the types of characters that it was going to represent.
You talk about this being another baby or second baby, I guess. And it's for those who have not seen it, and I hope that a number of folks who watch this interview will then go to watch White. It's a scary baby. It's a story about giving away part of who you are, part of your identity.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about where you came up with the idea for this story and why you wanted to tell this story.
It's interesting because I definitely was in an intense time of my life when this character just was almost forced upon me. It highlights class and race and issues around global warming, and obviously those are they're in the forefront for me all the time, like issues around class and race and environmental issues, etc. But it definitely was the character Bato who just forced himself upon me. I mean, I just saw this character biking down Fifth Avenue in the blazing heat, and then I realized it was Christmas time. And it's interesting how, characters can just force themselves upon you. It started out in this sort of small 5-minute silent film. Always had this this reference to a Twilight Zone world.
Right.
That Twilight Zone is a huge reference for me in general. I grew up watching the Twilight Zone, and I know after speaking with Kareem from ITVS, the Future States that's the Twilight Zone is definitely one of the models for Future States. So this character Bato being forced on me, it was such a clear snapshot of a world, and obviously I have been living with this world for almost 10 years, so there's so many maps and connections and stories woven within it, but Bato was always this central character. I'm hoping that people will watch it and think. I mean, we all hope our work is provocative and then it's going to help sort of start a dialogue. I think that there are ways in which we sacrifice pieces of our soul without literally sacrificing what Bato has to sacrifice in the film. And I, I do think that we can see a strain of hope in that Bato makes it to bring his baby into the world, and hopefully that's a message of hope in some way. But it is scary. There are times when I think, what am I putting out there? I almost felt compelled. It was a story that I couldn't let go of.
It's interesting that you mentioned the Twilight Zone. I mean, certainly I can see the parallels there just between the look, the science fiction, that sort of thing. But if you think of Twilight Zone, especially the original version, as kind of being an alternative universe that's reflective of what was the current state of affairs, whether it was the McCarthy era or whatnot in the U.S., do you see White as being a reflection of our country today, or as a reflection of what our country could be in the future, or both?
I think that they're facets of both. I think that it's very relevant that in this day and age, somebody could lose grasp or lose control of their life because they can't afford healthcare, right? On just like a simple level. That's a very relevant and clear distinction between the world of White and the world of today. I also think that this happens to be a world where natural resources, and I think people are included in that, are constantly exploited, and the people that actually live on the land or have connection to that aren't the ones that control it. There are many layers of subtext to this, some very literal, some metaphoric, and just Bato and his family to me represent this beautiful, present, committed, community-based family that they're doing everything that they can, to support one another in the community, and a little thing can drive that off course. And I do think that that's something relevant to today. But I also think that it's something we should think about. Like, what are the things that we want and desire? How can we live in a way that's more community based, and what are the things that we really want to aspire to?
Mm-hmm. I was checking out your bio, and I saw that you're currently developing the next installment of White. So the story's going to continue in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it always felt like either a larger sort of feature-length story, or little segments, like an episodic. I mean, because there's so many different characters that can be woven in and out of this. There's also before and after the baby. Who is Gina? How do we get to these places? When did the types of extraction start happening? So yeah, I think that it's always intended to be something that's larger. Whether that happens next for me, we'll see. But yes, I definitely want the story to continue.
I'm just curious, and this is something that I asked Kimi Takasui, another filmmaker who produced a film for Future States. In terms of thinking that this was going to be presented online, did that have any impact on how you shot this, how you conceptualized it?
We talked about that. Jeff Kim is the DP for White, and he's also the DP for Pia in season 1. It's fantastic DP. We talked a lot, and the first and foremost, we wanted to shoot the film in a way that would honor the story and highlight the story in the best way possible. So the discussion started there, and then we discussed, okay, someone's going to watch this on their laptop. How is that going to be different than seeing it in a theater, which most people don't get to see anyway? Hopefully, those people in New York can come to Tribeca. We'll have a screening on the 23rd, and at BAM, there's going to be a screening at BAM as well, etc. But it seemed like in the end we could honor the story and honor Jeff's wonderful camera work, and that seemed to hold true and carry us into the small sort of laptop or online viewing capability. It didn't seem like we had to sacrifice anything.
And just finally, outside of White and Future States, why are you a storyteller?
I am a storyteller whether someone is responding to it, right? I mean, we all have stories to tell. And again, it's something I'm compelled to do. It's something that is bigger than me. And however it's interesting. Art is it's something you can't really put your finger on. But you know, when we respond to something, whether it's a story or a visual image, and it works, it's something that's transformative. And hopefully I'm a storyteller who does that. You know, but it's more of a compulsion. It's something that I don't have control of at times, but it's something that I have to work hard at, right? Because it doesn't just happen by itself. And making movies is a collaborative art form, and so it's nice that I can have ideas that other creative people can respond to and help make them better.
Sayeeda Clarke, thank you so much for sharing the world of White with us, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me today.
Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing what you extract from this, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch the film. I'm glad you enjoyed it.